Welcome, I'm playing Minecraft today. Before we begin with the stories, where are you watching from tonight? Let me know in the comments. Let's start with a story that started with a ring and ended with a life lesson. Story 1. She stole my ring. OP's a college kid who saved up for a tiny silver ring with a small opal set into it. Nothing crazy, just loaded with meaning because the stone came from his grandma's busted necklace. He keeps it in a felt box, tucked into a kitchen drawer with rubber bands, spare batteries and those mystery keys we all pretend we'll label someday. Enter, roommate's new girlfriend. She's nice at first, then slowly starts treating the apartment like a Pinterest board, banana bread at midnight, calling the living room a space, moving stuff because flow, harmless. Until OP opens the drawer one morning and the felt box is gone. No forced entry. No one else has keys. The only new variable is the girlfriend who loves to help tidy when nobody asks. OP asks roommate. Roommate shrugs. Girlfriend smiles like this is cute paranoia. OP doesn't blow up. He invites them to movie night, sets a bowl by the door for keys, earrings, rings. Drop your shiny so nothing gets lost. Everyone laughs. Halfway through the movie, OP pauses. Okay, funny thing, if my ring magically shows up in the bowl, we just keep watching and pretend this never happened. He walks to the kitchen for cocoa. Comes back. The bowl glints. The ring is in there like it spawned. He doesn't confront anyone. He thanks everyone for being good sports, pockets the ring, and the next day he buys a cheap decoy. That evening he leaves the decoy box on the counter by accident. Roommate's girlfriend hovers near it like a curious magpie. OP says nothing. He takes the real ring, the grandma opal, and hides it in a Ziploc inside a shampoo bottle. Ugly? Yes. Safe? Also yes. A week later, the girlfriend starts wearing a tiny silver ring that looks suspiciously like the decoy. She calls it vintage. Roommate says she has great taste. OP smiles and lets Karma handle logistics. Then there's a small party, candle gets knocked, smoke alarm screams. In the chaos, the girlfriend rushes around stuffing things into her tote. After everyone's gone, OP finds the decoy on the bathroom sink. Bent, cheap stone popped out like a skittle. He cleans it, places it back in the box on the counter. Next morning it's missing again. So OP sets up a phone cam pointed at the counter. Video later shows a familiar bracelet and polished nails lifting the lid and pocketing the decoy. OP doesn't upload it. He shows roommate, not trying to ruin anyone. I just need my home to be safe. Roommate goes quiet. Girlfriend says it was a joke. OP says, cool, joke's over now. 2 weeks later the relationship fizzles for a million tiny reasons. Roommate leaves OP a note. Sorry, I learned. The girlfriend becomes a story someone else tells. Fast forward. OP meets someone new who laughs at his penguin mug and asks why there's a shampoo bottle in the pantry. He tells the whole saga. She says her aunt does jewelry repair. Together they tighten the opal's prongs at a tiny table, hands steady like people placing trapdoors as chairs. It's not about money. It's about putting respect back where it belongs. The point? Some people think kindness is a weakness you can lift from a drawer. It isn't. It's armor you polish in quiet ways, like movie nights, decoy rings, and boundaries that don't need to scream. If you're building place a lantern and promise yourself you'll guard your calm. Alright, stack a few planks, sip some water, and let's slide into the next story. Story 2. The weekend of Biscuit the Wolf. OP's neighbor, Mrs. F, 70, sharper than a diamond pickaxe, asks him to watch her poodle Biscuit while she visits her sister. OP's a good kid with squeaky mailbox vibes, so he says yes. She hands him a schedule, a bag of kibble, and a warning. He thinks he's a wolf. Don't let him chase squirrels. First walk goes fine, until Biscuit spots a scooter kid and decides the world is a racetrack. He wriggles out of his harness like a furry Houdini and bolts. OP sprints after him. Hot bar in the red. Biscuit dives into the yard of Mr. Loud Opinions, the neighbor who hates the HOA, the trash schedule, and probably clouds. Mr. Loud sprays the hose, not at the dog, at OP. Leash your dog. OP, fully soaked, scoops Biscuit like a bread loaf and apologizes. Biscuit smiles, Poodle smiles. Mr. Loud grumbles about responsibility. OP texts Mrs. F. All good, because he's not handing her stress she can't fix from another city. He dries off, does a chill mining session, and tries again later with jazz playing low. Biscuit loves jazz, don't ask me why. It helps until thunder rolls in. Biscuit panic scrabbles like he's tunneling to bedrock. OP sits on the floor, makes a little fort with blankets, and hums. Dog calms, night passes. Saturday, Biscuit refuses to poop like it's a moral stance. They loop the block, OP smiling at everyone like, hi, don't judge me. But Mr. Loud Opinions appears and mutters, some people aren't fit for pets. OP wants to clap back, he doesn't. He plays the long game, jazz, patience. Long walk past the garden house, the one with sunflowers and the sign that says pollinators welcome. The gardener waves them in to stroll the path. Biscuit becomes a different dog. Ears up, tail swaying, entire body exhaling. They find a lemonade stand run by a teen saving for college. Biscuit finally does his business at a respectable distance. OP cleans, buys 2 lemonades, tips big, apologizes to the stroller that wasn't actually involved. Mr. Loud, from across the street, shakes his head like kindness is a personal attack. Whatever. Sunday. Mrs. F texts. She'll be back by dinner. OP walks Biscuit straight to Sunflower Sanctuary, avoids Mr. Loud's leaf blower war, and finds a rhythm. Jazz, slower pace, treats after stop signs. When Mrs. F returns, she notices the harness clip is worn thin. "Oh, this is old," she says, grateful OP caught the great escape. She thanks him with lemon cookies, a tier reward. Mr. Loud strolls by and sneers, "Hope you charged." Mrs. F. "Kindness is free, Harold. I want her in my party forever." A week later, OP gets a note in his squeaky mailbox from the lemonade girl. "Thanks for tipping," with the doodle of a poodle wearing sunglasses and a coupon for 1 free lemonade for sunny emergencies. OP smiles and magnets it to his fridge. The cul-de-sac is still loud, still weird, but now OP knows the quiet path, past sunflowers, under the soft buzz of bees where small creatures remember how to breathe. If you're playing along, toss torches at even intervals and trust your pace. People will always have opinions about your dog, your build, your life. Let them. Guide your wolf-hearted poodle through the garden side of the map and keep walking. Alright, next story, while I craft a fence gate. Story 3, The Promise and the Spreadsheet. OP's a senior, applying to college, working bakery shifts that smell like sugar and existential dread. Since middle school, his parents promised, if you earn a scholarship, we'll match it for housing. OP grinds essays about fixing neighborhood bikes for kids, being tired but kind, all that. He lands a real scholarship, letterhead, signatures, confetti in the group chat. 2 weeks later, his parents clarify that matching means helping him take out a loan. That's not matching, that's debt cosplay. OP doesn't flip the table, he collects receipts, screenshots the text, prints the scholarship letter, makes a spreadsheet with housing options, costs, and what match looked like when those words were first said. He isn't building a case to win, he's building clarity no one can dodge. Sunday afternoon, laundry soft, soup on. OP sits down and says, "Can we talk about housing?" He lays out the timeline, the text, the budget. He doesn't say, "You lied." He says, "I planned around what you said." His dad does the pride versus truth sigh. His mom stares at her spoon. OP finishes with, "I'll respect whatever you decide, but if the plan changed, I need to adapt now." He goes to his room, loads a chill world, sorts wool by color, and builds a sea pickle lighthouse because small lights help when you're waiting. Next day, his dad shows up at the bakery with coffee. "I reread our messages. You're right, we said match." That's not a full apology, but it's a door opening. That night, parents call a redo. "We got caught up in fear," Mom admits. "We can't match dollar for dollar, but we can match effort." They propose a compromise, a fixed monthly amount equivalent to their old match number, plus Dad takes extra weekend shifts, and they co-sign the lease so OP can secure a safer spot. OP says yes, not to winning, this is in court, but to a family trying to grow up together. He still keeps the backup plan. More summer hours at the bakery, a campus library job, a roommate who actually likes cleaning day. His housing is modest and sunny, with a window facing a bird-heavy tree. First night, OP sits on the floor under a thrifted lamp, eats cold pizza, and texts his parents a photo captioned, "First Nest." He also texts them a simple budget update each month. No guilt, just numbers. That spreadsheet becomes a peace treaty. Mid-semester, the Scholarship Foundation asks recipients to share reflections. OP writes about promises as places to rest. If you move the resting place, help build a new one. He writes about how matching can be money, hours, or effort, but whatever form it takes, it needs to be clear. He ends with, "Receipts aren't weapons, they're maps out of confusion." Family dinners shift, less scoreboard, more alignment. Dad cracks jokes about trying to PR my weekend shift. Mom sends coupon codes like a fairy godmother with Excel. OP learns adulthood's weird truth. Sometimes you teach people how to support you by showing them the blueprint. If you're stacking blocks with me, label the chest and put a sign by the door. Not because people are dumb, because clarity is kind. Next story loading while I craft a little lighthouse balcony. Story 4. The club that remembered to have fun. P is vice president of a tiny high school gaming club meeting in a classroom with sticky desks and a whiteboard full of doodles. The president, Max, founded it and treats it like a monarchy. He hogs the best controller, schedules sweaty tournament practices on days half the club wants to just chill, and slowly scares off all the shy freshmen. Attendance drops to 6 and 2 are only there for snacks. OP suggests splitting nights, casual nights and competitive nights. Max says no. We need wins if we want respect. The teacher sponsor is kind but exhausted. Work it out. There's no real rule book, just vibes. So OP writes 1, a short doc, mission, fun first, schedule, 2 tracks, controller rotation, no hoarding Excalibur, and a voting process so no one person is the boss forever. He shares it in the group chat. Most people are into it. Max replies with a manifesto about legacy. OP breathes, then calls a vote anyway, citing the line in the napkin-level charter, membership actions by simple majority. In a lunch meeting that smells like bread and markers, they vote to adopt the new rules. Max storms off. OP unlocks the cupboard that afternoon, passes around controllers and writes a big sign. Casual ladder, optional. 2 freshmen peek in. OP waves. Today's chill. The room changes. People laugh quietly. Someone draws a sleepy dragon mascot on the whiteboard. Snacks get shared without drama. Anxiety unclenches. The sound of fun, low stakes, shared, is very real. A week later, Max returns. He stands in the doorway with crossed arms and scans the room like a general coming back to find a democracy. OP hands him a controller. Casual round? Max joins, plays well, doesn't flex. After the match, he says, "We could still run a tournament next month." OP points to the ladder, optional column already half full of names who want pressure and half empty for those who don't. The choice matters more than any banner. By spring, membership doubles. Theme nights, retro night, co-op night, and a build night, where folks bring laptops and play whatever soothing block game keeps their brain from melting. The teacher sponsor actually smiles on a Thursday. Max eventually apologizes, not with a big speech, but by putting the best controller into rotation without being asked. That's real change. Behavior, not promise. At the assembly, the club gets a tiny certificate for most improved culture, which is hilarious because you can't laminate vibes, but they tried. OP gives a 2-sentence thank you about listening, small rules, and making space for soft players. The freshmen cheer like someone opened a gate they thought was locked. If you're building with me, leave a staircase where shy kids can climb in. Write the rules no one wrote for you. Rotate your best tools. That's equity in controller form. Okay, grab a snack. Next story is a little spooky but kind. Story 5. The kindest haunting. OP moves into a studio that smells like lemon cleaner and dust. Radiator clanks like a polite ghost. First week, small things shift. A mug migrates. A plant angles to the light. A book opens to the middle. OP assumes stress. Then he hears a melody through the vent. Soft, old, like a commercial jingle someone's grandmother used to hum. He records it. It's there. He mentions it to the super, who says, "Pipes." But the tune keeps visiting around dusk. OP hums along. The apartment feels less lonely. Then dreams begin. A green couch that isn't his. A woman in a yellow sweater watering plants at the same time every day. And a small glass bowl by the door that holds keys, paper clips, and a coin with a hole in it. The super casually shares that the previous tenant, Miss L, lived there 30 years and passed last spring. OP looks at the ivy outside the window, the stubborn patch clinging to brick, and says a quiet hello. That night, he sets a little bowl by his door. Morning. Inside lies the small hoop earring he lost a month ago. Okay then. OP doesn't panic. He treats the space like a co-op across time. He moves the plant to better light. He boils water at the same time the melody starts. He buys a ribbon as a bookmark because the dreams show Miss L reading with a ribbon. A friend says to smudge the place with sage. OP says, "I think I need respect more than smoke." Weeks pass. The apartment feels aligned. Keys drift to the bowl. Cups migrate to the sink. Pens congregate in a jar. The tune becomes rarer, like someone packing carefully, checking the list. One evening, the melody stops entirely. OP tapes a note by the door. "Thanks for letting me stay. I'll water the ivy." He waters the ivy. He hums the song himself and reorganizes a drawer. In the back, he finds a tiny coin with a hole. He places it in the bowl, like a period at the end of a friendly sentence. That night, he dreams Miss L turns off a lamp and says, "It's yours now. Keep it tidy." He wakes up sad and oddly proud, like he inherited a routine instead of a burden. The radiator no longer apologizes. The apartment breathes with him. Spooky? Not really. It's just tenderness that doesn't need a body anymore. If you're building along, put a flower pot outside your base and label a chest keys coins. When a space hums a memory at you, hum back. Alright, last story while I hang a lantern and take a sip. Story 6. Respawn together. OP and his best friend Ari had a blow-up. OP forgot Ari's birthday during exam week. Ari felt invisible, words got sharp, and they both stopped talking. Life went on, loud with the absence. 2 months later, OP decides Pride doesn't get to drive. He plans an apology tour that's not a text or flowers, it's a loop through their history. He borrows his aunt's car and makes a playlist called Detour. texts Ari. I want to return what I took. Time? Ari says yes, cautious. They drive with the windows down in that awkward silence that isn't hostile, just careful. First stop, the arcade where the dance machine's been broken for years. They stomp off beat anyway. Sweat, laugh. Remember they're actually idiots together. Second stop, the river lookout where they used to split one gross deli sandwich because tradition tastes how it tastes. OP pulls a tiny box, not a proposal. Inside is an enamel pin shaped like a pixel heart. For your jacket, he says. So I don't forget to check my hearts. Ari pins it on, exhale visible. They hit the thrift store where Ari once found cowboy boots that made them both cackle for an entire bus ride. Boots are gone. Glitter sneakers stare up like fate. Ari tries them, Runway walks the aisle, and OP claps like an audience of one. It's silly. It's perfect. At the park where their group used to meet, OP reads a short note because he keeps messing up. If he freestyles, I should have set reminders. I should have asked what you needed. I want you in my future on purpose, not just out of habit. I don't need a dramatic fix. I need consistent effort. Ari listens, then sets a rule. Monthly check-in, even if nothing's wrong. They put it in both calendars. 2 dogs, weaponizing Google against Drift. Diner at dusk. OP has one more small box. A silver ring engraved respawn. Not romantic, a symbol. Ari laughs so hard the waitress laughs too. They split fries, plan the next movie, and promise to talk earlier next time, not when Hurt has already done laps. On the ride home, rain taps the roof. They talk about families, classes, the ugly cool ache of growing up with someone and sometimes away from them. They agree birthdays aren't small. They agree that forgiving doesn't delete the log, it closes it correctly. They agree that friendship is a project with infinite updates and no final boss. Back at Ari's building, the hug is longer than usual, not dramatic, just exact. OP goes home, puts keys in the bowl, sits on the floor, breathes. He opens a shared world from forever ago with a half-built treehouse, climbs up, finishes the platform and hangs a lantern. The light is small, reaching farther than it looks. He screenshots it to Ari. New save, Ari replies with the glitter sneakers on the dashboard. New route, story 7, the group project, the apology, and the revision history. I'm laying down stairs and trapdoors for a little balcony while I tell you this one because it's about structure and how the right tiny rules can save your sanity. OP is in a 4-person group project for history. You know how that goes? 1 person dreams, 1 person ghosts, 1 person panics, and 1 person actually builds the thing. OP is the builder. They set up a shared doc, color code sections, and put deadlines in the header like little lanterns along a path. Everyone nods, promises, and then, on deadline day, Callum finishes his section by rephrasing OP's writing with a thesaurus and slapping his name on it, like taking someone's base, changing the wood, and calling it new. OP notices because the stats are wrong in the same way their draft's placeholder numbers were wrong. It's not a coincidence, it's a copy. OP doesn't blow up. They breathe, finish their own parts, and go to class. Teacher announces peer review. Callum reads with the confidence of someone who thinks copy-paste is a personality. OP lets it ride, because there is a quieter way to fix this. After class, they ask the teacher for 5 minutes. No drama. OP opens the doc on the projector, clicks file version history, and there it is. Timestamps like bedrock, layer after layer of OP's sentences, Callum's find, replace flourishes, and the other team members' real edits in between. Highlighted, dated, undeniable. No accusations, just receipts. The teacher says, "Thank you for the clarity." She adjusts grades individually. Callum, mortified, tries to apologize in a way that is technically words and not actually accountability. "I thought we were collaborating." OP replies, "We are. Collaboration is when we build together, not when you repaint what's already standing." OP suggests a redo on Callum's section. "Write a fresh conclusion that ties everyone's work. You're good at speaking. Use that." Callum goes home, actually reads the sources, writes a real conclusion, and the final presentation lands clean. The group gets a good grade without pretending the process was perfect. Later, Callum asks OP, "Are we cool?" OP says, "We're building. That takes time. It's not a burn, it's a boundary." Weeks later, teacher asks OP to share their doc setup with the class. Simple headers, deadlines in bold, a checklist at the top that nobody can miss. OP shows how to use comments, how to resolve issues without turning them into personal wars, and yes, how to read the version history so everyone knows whose blocks are whose. A quiet little seminar on how to be on a team without losing your mind. The best part is what happens after. The next project, another group asks OP for their template. OP shares it and watches a room full of chaos-prone juniors avoid the usual storm. No heroics, no power games, just clarity and a record of who did what. Callum volunteers to be the comment wrangler, checking in each night so small problems don't harden into resentment. He rotates the best controller of the doc, the last say on wording, so everyone gets that power once. The doc becomes a place where everyone's capacity matters, not just the loudest person's certainty. The story doesn't end with enemies. It ends with adults in training learning how to be less exhausting. By the time finals hit, Callum is the one reminding people to add sources as they go instead of dumping them at 2 a.m. He still writes like he's racing, but now he respects the track. OP doesn't become the project's parent, they become the architect of a path people can actually walk. The teacher notices the room is quieter, not bored, focused. That's the temperature you want. OP's lesson? If you can't change people, change the structure, put lights on the path, build guardrails you don't have to shout about. When someone steals your work with synonyms, don't go nuclear, show the timeline. Facts are quiet, and quiet wins more than noise ever will. If you're building along, label your chests, put signs at the stairs, and keep receipts, not to punish, but to keep the path honest. Story 8. The phone, the courier, and the cul-de-sac mystery. OP loses their phone on a Friday afternoon, the kind of vanish that makes your stomach drop like a minecart off a cliff. Last ping, near their house. OP retraces steps, checks the mailbox, the car, the railing under the welcome mat like the phone shrank. Nothing. A delivery van rolled by in that window. The neighborhood WhatsApp group hums to life with theories. Somebody says, watch the couriers. Somebody else posts a blurry photo of a driver holding a rectangle. Cool, thanks. That narrows it down to a phone-shaped object in 2025. OP doesn't want to turn a person into a villain just because panic needs a face. They DM the courier company with the time window and a calm message, not a flamethrower. Meanwhile, OP prints a simple poster. Lost phone, reward, no questions. They tape it to the community board next to piano lessons and cat-sitting flyers. Then they go for a slow walk with a friend and breathe because breathing is free. Saturday morning, a kid about 10 rides up on a too-big bike and asks if OP is the poster person. He pulls a phone from his backpack. It's OP's, smudged but safe. Found it by the hedge, tried to turn it on but it had a face lock. OP thanks him like he just saved the world because in a tiny way he did. The kid refuses money. OP walks him to the corner store and buys him and his little sister chocolate milk and a magazine. He says, "You returned something you could have kept. That's big." The kid beams like he just unlocked a hidden achievement. The WhatsApp rumor mill sputters. OP posts an update. Phone found by a neighborhood hero. Thank you delivery folks for your hard work. The courier company replies with a thumbs up emoji and a glad it worked out. Panic stands down. Dignity intact all around. Here's the little coda. That evening, OP and their neighbor set up a tiny exchange shelf by the community board. A small cubby where people can temporarily stash lost and found items behind a clear door with a combo lock. The combo is the house number of the board posted on the side. No one forgets it. A goofy, simple system. Lose a glove, a key, a phone. Check the cubby. It turns into a small ritual. People leave notes like, found at Third Elm, stay cozy. 2 weeks later, OP finds a mitten that looks like a baby bear. They pop it into the cubby. That night, a typed note appears. Thank you. She slept with the mitten like a teddy. And suddenly the street is less a row of rectangles and more a map of small rescues. If you're placing blocks while I talk, add a sign at your base that says, lost? Check here. Systems beat suspicion. A shelf with a combo is a better neighbor than a megaphone. And when panic tries to give you a villain, ask for the full picture first. Breath in, breath out, block by block. Story 9. The drummer. Upstairs and the sound of a truce. OP moves into a thin-walled building. Upstairs neighbor is a drummer. Talented, relentless, and allergic to quiet hours. At first it's funny. OP can tell the difference between paradiddles and panic attacks. Then comes Sunday morning at 7:12 a.m., a solo that could wake the Ender Dragon. OP stares at the ceiling, composes a strongly worded speech, then doesn't deliver it. They bake instead. No, really. OP brings a plate of cookies upstairs and knocks. Drummer opens the door, sheepish hair, sticks in pocket. OP says, "You're really good. Also Sundays?" Drummer laughs, cringes, and invites OP in to see the practice setup. Pads on the floor, blankets on the walls, a dream of a studio trying to happen in a rental. They talk schedules. OP works late and sleeps in on Sundays. Drummer can't practice after 9 p.m. because of a downstairs baby. They draft a schedule on a sticky note like a treaty. No drums before 10 on weekends, quiet pads after 9 on weeknights, Sundays sacred until noon. OP suggests a trade. I'll help you pad the door with weather stripping and an extra curtain if you help me hang a shelf that's been staring at me. They spend a Saturday afternoon turning noise into project. The door muffles. The shelf finally holds plants instead of shame. OP learns that the drummer's band plays weddings and school fundraisers. Drummer learns OP loves lo-fi playlists and overwatering succulents. The test comes 2 weeks later when the band lands a last-minute gig and the drummer needs a late rehearsal. Text arrives. Emergency practice 8:30, 9:15 okay. OP has a morning exam. They text back, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'll put in earplugs. You owe me one wall shelf, deal? Drummer replies with 15 bowing emojis and an offer of a free ticket. The practice happens. OP sleeps. The exam goes fine. The treaty holds. Months pass. The building starts to feel like a ship where people actually talk to the crew. Someone posts a sign in the lobby. Quiet hours, care hours. On hot nights, the drummer plays brushes so soft you could nap to it. On the drummer's birthday, the stairwell hosts a 3-song whisper volume set. Everyone brings mugs and sits on the steps. It's weird and perfect. OP keeps a copy of the sticky note treaty on their fridge as a reminder that most monsters are just neighbors you haven't shared cookies with yet. If you're playing along, think insulation. Carpet under note blocks, wool behind walls, respect between floors. Loud doesn't always mean careless. Sometimes it means someone needs help building the room their dream deserves. On a rainy Sunday, they run into each other in the lobby, both carrying groceries, both laughing at the weather like it's a drummer too. OP says, "Want me to hold the door while you haul that kit next week?" Drummer nods, surprised. It's a small thing, a shared lift. Later that night, brooms for cymbals, a heartbeat pattern, and the building sleeps through it together. Story 10. The toe, the cones, and the note that fixed the street. OP parks on the street where snowplows and street sweepers play calendar games. One Tuesday, they come out to find their car gone, towed for street maintenance during a window nobody put on the block's paper schedule. Rage begins crafting tweets. OP instead takes photos, reads the tiny sign zip-tied to a pole, and calls the number listed in fonts made for ants. The towing clerk is a wall. OP stays calm. "I'm not contesting the tow," they say, "but the signage went up at 3 a.m. for a 7 a.m. window. I have timestamps." The clerk sighs, then escalates. A supervisor listens, says, "If you have proof, we can waive the fee this once." OP pays storage to get the car same day, then sends the photos with a neat timeline. 2 days later, fee reversed. Not victory. Maintenance still needs clear roads, but fairness applied like it should be. OP doesn't stop there. They buy 2 collapsible cones and a pack of heavy-duty zip ties. They print a big, readable sign. Sweep day wed 7, 11 a.m., park on opposite side. Love your neighbor. They put the cones at the end of the block the evening before, loop the sign through, and tape a copy to the community board. They add a QR code to the city's official schedule so no one has to play guess which side. The next sweep day, nobody gets towed. People move cars like a dance they suddenly remembered. The city truck actually does its job instead of kidnapping sedans. OP meets 3 neighbors they'd only ever waved at from behind glass. A guy with a toddler says, "I missed work last time because of that surprise posting. Thank you." There's always someone though. A new tenant drags a cone aside and parks anyway. OP doesn't explode. They write a note that isn't a threat, it's a mirror. "Hey, we're trying to keep our block tow-free and clean. Sweepers need the lane. If times don't work for you, text me and I'll help you find alternatives." They leave their number. The tenant texts an apology and a screenshot. The shift ends at 7:05 a.m. The solution ends up being 2 borrowed driveways for that window. Neighbors happy to help when asked gently and directly. Now the cones live in a little bucket by the stairwell with a label, "Street Tools." Anyone can deploy them. The sign rotates sides when the schedule flips, and OP's rage tweets, "Never needed them." The block fixed itself because someone put a few bright blocks in the right places and wrote in big letters. Systems again, they're magic. If you're mining with me, consider where a cone, literal or metaphor, would save 5 people an hour each month. Put it there, label it, share the QR. Tiny effort, big piece. The cones get little reflective stickers. Kids add smiley faces. Somehow that helps people notice them at dawn. Story 11. The pay-to-win admin and the server fork. This one's for the gamers. OP and friends play on a public survival server run by an admin who started chill and slowly slid into donate for netherite territory. Pay to win creeps in. Spawn becomes a billboard. Non-donors get throttled with silly cooldowns, and griefers mysteriously avoid bans if their name shows up on the donor list. The chat turns sour. People stop building. They grind or complain. You can feel the community shrinking like render distance on a potato laptop. OP messages the admin privately with a concrete proposal, restore parity gear, cap donator perks to cosmetics and queue priority, and publish a clear griefing policy with appeals. Admin replies with a shrug emoji and a "my server, my rules." Okay. OP spins up a Discord with a spicy name, Block Party Fair Play, and writes a 1-page charter, no pay to win, strict anti-grief, transparent logs, rotating community council with veto on major changes. A mod from the old server DMs OP, if you're serious, I'll help. In a weekend, they fork the server. New seed, clean spawn, a welcome board that lists the rules in 10 lines. No monarch, just stewards. Launch night, 40 players log in. They build a town square in 2 hours. Someone sets up a free food barrel. Another adds a lost and found chest. A teen who used to get shushed for building cute things starts a community greenhouse that becomes the heart of spawn. People who like chaos get a designated PvP arena far from anyone's cottage. The chat sounds like laughter again. 2 weeks later, the old admin joins under an alt. He tests the borders like a fox, tries to drop diamond blocks in a newbie's path, nudges to see if rules bend for clout. They don't. A council mod messages him, cosmetics only, help build or take a seat. The alt leaves. A day later, the admin joins openly and asks about the charter. Turns out losing good people was more expensive than the donor perks were profitable. The fork stays independent. The old admin trims his pay to win and stops looking the other way. People now have options, which is the best kind of pressure. The community thrives because trust is a renewable resource when you actually plant it. OP's takeaway: if the rules are bad, fork the world. Build the version you want to live in. Don't scream at the king. Make a map without a throne. And if you're mining with me, maybe put a sign at spawn that says exactly what your place stands for. Simple rules, bright lights, open logs. A month in, someone suggests a quarterly charity build where the town makes a giant pixel mural and donors match in real money for a local food bank. Cosmetics still only. The point is building that feeds beyond the map. Screenshots go viral, but the real win is the pantry shelves that fill because a server kept its soul. Story 12. The jacket with a letter in the lining. Thrift stores are treasure chests. This one had actual lore. OP buys a vintage denim jacket because the collar is perfectly worn and the inside smells like cedar, not sadness. Later, while fixing a loose seam, OP finds a thin envelope stitched into the lining. Small, flat, easy to miss. Inside, a letter, dated 1998, written to M from J, apologizing for leaving town without saying goodbye. It's gentle, honest, full of little details about a bookstore by the river, and a promise to write again that obviously didn't happen. OP doesn't read it on stream or post it for clout. They sit with it like a warm mug and wonder if M kept waiting. The letter's return address is a P.O. box, long gone, but there's a bookstore name. OP Googles. The store moved across town and survived with plants and poetry nights. OP brings the letter, asks a clerk if anyone remembers J or M. The clerk calls the owner, an older woman who still writes the staff picks by hand. The owner reads the first line and sits down hard. I haven't seen this handwriting in 25 years, she says. Turns out M was her sister. J left for a job out west and vanished from the family's map except for this one letter that never arrived. The jacket probably came from a box their mom donated when they cleared out storage. The owner doesn't ask to keep it. She asks OP what they want. OP says to put it in the right hands. They all stand in the back office with the hum of the espresso machine like a heartbeat. Tears, soft and chosen. They make copies for the family and for a small display in the shop with a note about lost things returning in strange ways. The original goes to the sister with a little frame so it doesn't wander again. OP leaves their number in case anyone wants to talk more later. On the way out, the owner hands OP a gift card and a plant cutting in a jar. Something to root, she says. Weeks later, OP gets a text with a photo. A river at sunset, same as in the letter. We found the bench. The caption reads, beneath it, a denim jacket, another one, sits folded with a note. If found, bring to the bookstore. A ritual is born, a soft loop of returning what time misplaced. If you're stacking with me, put a sign on your world's lost and found. Stories come home here. And if you ever find a letter in a lining, breathe before you share. Some treasures are meant to be returned, not performed. OP starts keeping a tiny sewing kit by the door, thread and needles beside the bowl. Clothes get fixed, notes get returned, neighbors trade buttons and stories. The jacket is worn on rainy days like a cloak of letters, not heavy, just honest. The plant cutting roots in a jar by the sink. Story 13. The bus seat and the courtesy chain OP commutes on a bus where mornings are a mosaic of half-awake strangers. There's a guy who naps sitting up, a woman who reads romance like oxygen, students with backpack armor. One day, an elderly man boards late and there are no seats. People do that pretend not to see thing. OP stands and offers their spot. The man smiles like an old photograph and sits. Next day, same man, same bus, same full cabin. OP stands again, but before they can speak, a teen in a hoodie pops up and gestures. The old man sits, patting the kid's sleeve. It happens again the next day. Different person, same gesture. Without a meeting or a rule, a courtesy chain emerges. Whoever sits in that front right seat watches the door at the big intersection and yields if someone needs it more. A week in, the driver notices and adds to the loop. At that stop, she calls, "Courtesy check." Like a game, not a scold, people glance up and rearrange. The old man starts bringing pocket candies and distributing them like a gentle boss. He calls the driver captain. The bus feels less like public transport and more like a moving living room with rails. One morning, the bus jerks and someone stumbling catches themselves on the courtesy seat pole. The old man says, loud enough for the back row, "Thank you for sharing your balance." Everyone laughs the tired laugh of people who needed that line. The phrase sticks. When someone gives a seat, someone else says, "Thanks for sharing your balance." OP makes a tiny sign with a smiley, "Sharing our balance here." They tape it near the courtesy seat with clear tape that will not outlive a spring rain. The driver leaves it there anyway. A transit supervisor boards one day and doesn't rip it down. He smiles and asks the driver about the phrase. She shrugs. "They made it up. I just steer." A month later, OP misses the bus and has to walk in a cold drizzle. A car pulls over. It's the driver, off shift, on the way to her kid's school. "Need a ride 2 blocks?" OP says sure. In the car, the driver says, "I've been driving 10 years. This is the first time a ritual like that stuck without me begging." OP says, "We just needed someone to start the sentence. If you're placing torches with me, start one sentence that helps people share their balance. Put it on a sign. Keep it small. The world doesn't need more rules as much as it needs more rituals people want to keep." When the old man misses a week, the bus feels wrong until he returns with a new cane and a grin. He says, "Doctor says I'm stubborn." Everyone cheers like the stop is a stadium. He passes out candies and one small note, "Thank you for the balance." The driver taps the sign and salutes. Story 14. The schedule flip and the kitchen that stayed kind. OP works prep at a small restaurant where dinner rush feels like a raid boss with knives. There's a tight crew, line cook Tasha who can dice an onion faster than light, dishwasher Mo who sings off-key in a way that makes you sing too, and a manager who's mostly calendar and caffeine. One week the schedule drops with a nasty surprise. Tasha's hours cut in half, replaced by the owner's nephew who has wrists like uncooked noodles and a habit of learning by watching. During the busiest 10 minutes of the night, Tasha shrugs like it won't hurt, but everyone sees rent in her eyes. OP asks the manager privately, "Why the cut?" Manager mutters something about family. OP doesn't go nuclear. They do the math. They compile ticket times, food cost, and waste rates from the last month and quietly show the manager that nights with Tasha running the line run smoother, faster, and cheaper even after paying her the hours. Data, not drama. Then OP proposes a swap. Test week with the nephew on slower lunches paired with Tasha as a mentor, and Tasha back on the busy dinner shifts. The manager says it's above her pay grade. OP asks for 5 minutes with the owner at opening, just to show him the numbers and a path where his nephew actually learns without burning the house down. Owner listens, expects a fight, gets a spreadsheet. He says, 1 week. Tasha trains the nephew on knife safety, prep flow, and the sacred art of labeling everything, like the walk-in is a library. Lunches become practice instead of chaos. Dinners snap back into rhythm. Ticket times drop, food waste shrinks, regulars notice the calm. The nephew, to his credit, hustles and stops standing with empty hands. He starts showing up with his own Sharpies like a real one. At week's end, the owner keeps the new layout. Tasha back to full dinners, nephew on lunches for a month with a plan to earn a dinner shift, not inherit it. He thanks OP by saying the most honest sentence in management, "You saved me from my own bad plan." The kitchen celebrates by making family meal that isn't just leftovers. Proper rice, roasted veggies, chicken with lemon, plates actually sat down and eaten hot. Mo plays a song and everyone claps on offbeats. Someone writes on the staff board, "Kindness, clear rolls, fair hours." Under it, another hand, plus sharp knives. OP goes home with the smell of lemon and allspice in their hoodie and the kind of tire that doesn't hollow you out. If you're mining with me, label your chests, track your runs, and don't be afraid to bring a spreadsheet to a knife fight. The point isn't to win an argument, it's to keep the room kind.